Welcome back to another episode of Nearly Verified. My name is Matt Puglisi. I'm the host of this show, and this is going to be episode 8 featuring Troy Osinoff. So Troy is the co-founder of Juice, which is a New York City-based digital marketing agency credited by Facebook as being a top 1% agency and the fastest growing in New York. This is where he has helped clients such as Kenneth Cole and Paris Hilton scale successful multi-platform marketing campaigns. Prior to Juice, Troy helped a bankrupt shoe company reach profitability. He grew a Grammy Award-winning recording studio, created a viral media site called Make a Dare, which was featured on Dr. Phil, fun fact. He co-founded a media company with 1.7 million visitors daily and created a viral Tumblr that was turned into a nationally sold book. Troy also leads digital marketing for the largest HVAC company in the world, which is at $4.2 billion in annual sales, which is wild. He created a group of e-commerce stores grossing 7 figures of revenue, and to top it all off, he was the head of customer acquisition at BuzzFeed. Troy is an incredibly driven and humble guy. I really enjoyed our conversation. Troy, thank you so much for coming on to chat. We dig into his experiences coding at the age of 9 to all of these different industries that he's worked in and all these different projects that he's had a hand in. Just such a cool story, so many cool skills and experiences pulled from all these things in his life. He also touches on some advice for young people that are looking to get into entrepreneurship. It was just a great conversation, and I really appreciate you, Troy. Thank you for coming on. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the conversation. Welcome to another episode of Nearly Verified. Today, I've got the pleasure of having Troy Osinoff on the podcast. Really cool story that I'm excited to dig into. So Troy, thank you so much for being on here, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Sounds fun.
Of course. So why don't we just get started with a little bit about you? Do you want to bring it back to how you got started into coding and just a little bit about your story?
Yeah, so when I was about 9 years old, I learned how to code, basically how to like the basics HTML back then. I really enjoyed messing around on the computer when I was a kid. A friend told me that I can kind of right click and view source and see the base like the HTML code and like the coding on the websites. So whatever site I visit. So I used to go to those websites, like every website I could think of, just right click view source, copy the code and put it into this thing called Angelfire. At the time was like a site builder. And I just used to edit line by line the code to actually see what the code meant, to understand how it like to manipulate it to do whatever I wanted to do. And I just had a lot of fun with it. And I used to bug my dad to drive me to Barnes and Noble to go to the coding section there. And the books were like crazy expensive. It was like a few $100s. When you're 9 years old, that's basically, it could be $1 million, doesn't matter. So I used to handwrite all the code line by line in a notebook, and I used to go home and try it out. And I really wanted to make some money at the time because I wanted to buy video games, mostly Pokemon at the time. And I didn't feel like washing cars anymore, like all the neighborhood cars. So I started building websites for all the local businesses, and it gave me an opportunity to get better at this like newfound interest I found in coding, while also providing a service and making money. So it was funding my learning, which is pretty fun. And when you're 10 years old, at that age, like I charge like $50 a website. That goes a really long way. So you're making a few websites, every 2 months. You're rich for that age. So it was great. So I really enjoyed doing that. And then I kept going down that path because I found it super interesting that, to me, like I thought it was one of the coolest things in the world that I could put something online and anyone in the world can see it right then and there at any given moment. I thought that was crazy powerful. And this was like late 90s when I was doing this. So like the internet definitely wasn't what it is now. Back then I had the idea to make funny video sites and funny picture sites so all my friends can go and look at it and share it. And I figured it had natural virality would grow. And it did. So I made funny video sites. It was a site called Damn This I made when I was younger. I made it when I was in detention in 9th grade. And all the local schools in the area, and like I'm from Long Island, started using my website, and it started spreading from there. And I had a lot of high schools actively on that when I was in 9th grade. So I kept growing that out. Thankfully, I cold outreach to a few people that had sites that were basically doing what I did on a much larger scale. So like there was a site called eBounds World, for example, which was like a massive site back then. And I just cold reached out to the founder, his name's Eric, and I just asked him for advice on like how to do it. And then to my surprise, he was receptive. And he actually helped guide me in how to grow my website, how like internet traffic works, internet marketing in general. And that kind of was like the foundation for everything I did from then on. And I learned how to grow the website. I learned how SEO worked. Then I like search engine optimization, how to rank on Google. Then I learned how Google AdWords worked. Then I learned how Google AdSense, how you make money from Google. And the deeper I went into like this internet thing, the more stuff there was to learn. I kept diving deeper, and it was more interesting to me. And I kept seeing all the opportunity, and it was super exciting. And then from there, I went to college for biology, which is really random. But I was a pre-vet major because my parents kind of pushed me into this like a safer career path, because at the time, like the internet wasn't what it is now. So I was a pre-vet major because like animals, I volunteered at an animal vet office when I was in high school. So it made sense. And I dropped out within a year, of course, and I pursued back this internet path. And I made a site called Make a GIF because I love GIFs at the time. And this is like 2006, 2007. I love GIFs. I couldn't figure out how to make them. I had no idea how to use Photoshop. I got really good at MS Paint, but that's not very helpful outside of just making small edits. I used to like zoom in 800% and edit pixel by pixel, but you can't make GIFs that way. Learn the hard way. So I figured I couldn't be the only one with this problem. So I did Make a GIF, which is one of the first sites to combine multiple images into a GIF. And thankfully I wasn't the only one with this problem. And I made sure from the SEO knowledge I had built up over the years, I made sure I ranked for every single term of how to make GIFs. How do I make a GIF, GIF maker, all these different terms. And I ranked it. I grew it to there were millions of users on the site that were making GIFs constantly. Thankfully, that got acquired. From there, I invested in a recording studio up in Harlem in New York City, which is great. We won a few Grammys, great experience. I invested in a bankrupt shoe factory in Midtown, which is the only shoe factory in New York City till to this day. Over some of the wholesale, went direct to consumer only, helped make them profitable, and they're still profitable today. And yeah, I did a ton of random other stuff after that. I had a Tumblr that went viral, at a random project that I made that was talked about on Howard Stern. And then randomly enough, I got a book deal from Penguin. So it was nationally published. And I sold the rights to that to Fox and John Krasinski. Then from there, I was head of digital marketing for the world's largest heating and cooling company, which is a very random experience. They bring about $5 billion a year in sales, and I oversaw the digital marketing. From there, while I was there, the iPhone 7 came out. It didn't have a headphone jack. I saw everyone complaining about it on Twitter online. So I made the first iPhone 7 case that had a headphone jack built in. Raised a bunch of money in Indiegogo, pre-sold like over $1 million worth of product before Apple told us we couldn't do that. But I learned about how manufacturing works, tooling, and getting a product to launch. And then from there, I launched a bunch of different dropshipping stores, online e-commerce stores myself that I built and scaled up. And then while I was doing that, I got the attention of BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed was trying to get into e-commerce, so I went over to BuzzFeed to be head of acquisition, customer acquisition. So I helped them with all their go-to-market strategies, turning their brands into e-commerce stores. Like we turned Tasty into #1 cookbook in the world in 2017. We grew a candle company to I think it's still the #1 candle company online called Homesick, and a bunch of other e-com products along the way. Did that for about a year before started getting the itch to do my own thing again. And then I left BuzzFeed to start Juice with my co-founder, Michael Elisavetsky. And we're trying to reimagine the agency experience because I always hated hiring agencies and I wanted a better experience. So we try to make like a founder, entrepreneur focused marketing agency. And then we launched brands like Moonpod. We work with companies like Kenneth Cole, Paris Hilton, a lot of different brands, and help grow them from a founder focus rather than just a typical agency. Spend more money to get a result. We think about the actual root issues and root problems brands have and how we can actually profitably grow them. And that's my life in a short sound bit.
Yeah, that was awesome. So essentially everything Troy touches turns to gold is what it sounds like.
Definitely not. I definitely had some hiccups along the way, but I liked them. I learned from them.
Sorry, I might be losing you a bit. Man, that like the coolest part about your story is how different all of the experiences are, but they still kind of stay true to you trying something new and you trying just to push yourself to learn something. So one of my questions for you was starting back when you found out that you can manipulate websites and kind of got yourself into coding all the way up to learning SEO and all of the other elements of growth online. Did you still have that enjoyment of working on that sort of stuff that you found when you first started?
Yeah, because like for me, all this stuff is just problem solving, and it's all like it feels like a puzzle. So like right now, like even like right now with Juice, like the marketing, like it's about finding what messaging resonates with potential customers. It's figuring out it. Okay, I got them off of Facebook. I'm on the client's website. Now they're on the website. How do I get them to actually make a purchase? What wording do I have to say? What imagery do they need to see? And it's all problem solving. So I just like it feels like all of it just doing puzzles. So like it's just digging deeper into the data to understand it and kind of mix and match to see what works.
Yeah. I mean, like it's a perfect example with the iPhone. Like just kind of feeling the pressure points in the market, seeing what people are complaining about. And immediately that was one of the largest things on the internet. Like, where is this headphone jack going?
Yeah.
And
Uh, yeah, no, I mean like, so that's a kind of like when I'm looking, like anytime I hit a roadblock in anything I'm doing, whether it's business, life, whatever, I always try to write it down. I'm very weird. I text myself. I don't use the notes app. I don't take notes. I literally just text myself. But I text myself when I encounter like an issue, like let's say like the iPhone 7, like that was a roadblock. Like everyone has their headphones, like wired headphones. How are they going to listen to music? So I work backwards to try to figure out solutions and see if there's actually a viable business that makes sense for those issues that I encountered. Like again, like this really goes back to like make a gift. Like I couldn't figure out how to make gifts, and I figured I couldn't be the only one this issue. That was just like an assumption that thankfully worked out. But now, like, there's a lot of uh, data and like testing you can do to determine if this idea is actually viable or not. Like, you can go on Twitter and you can see, am I the only one talking about this? I can go on Google to see what I would search for if I was looking for this and what comes up. Are there competitors? If they're not, is it because that no one thought of this, or is it because it's a bad business? And then Google Trends to see search terms, and then eventually, if all this checks out, then you can make a fake website to see like how many people like and go to checkout and go to actually purchase. You don't actually have to collect credit card information, but you can measure people's interest. So thankfully now, like I test a lot more before just kind of throwing it against the wall to see what sticks. But yeah, the same like thought process goes throughout. It is an issue. I'm probably not going with this problem. Maybe I am, and now I can actually do the research to determine if that's actually true or not.
and I think what gives your story a lot of charm is the fact that you didn't have a lot of testing in order to do some of the things you did. Like for example, My Bad Parent. You just kind of thought, oh, this would be funny. See like pictures of this or that, and it goes viral. And I think that's kind of like the trend at the beginning of your career when you were younger, like just kind of doing it because you thought it would be cool or you thought it'd be funny. So my question for you is like, what is funny to you? Like when you were younger, those sort of things, like kind of got you excited to be coding and making those websites. But like, what's comedy for Troy?
I don't know. I have a very like wide range of comedy. I like everything from the dad jokes of the world to like Eric Andre to whatever. Like I love my brother's a stand-up comedian. Like I've always been deep into comedy since I was very young. So like I had a site that I didn't even mention called like Make a Dare, which was a site basically I can like go on the site, I'll dare read you whatever. And like for me, like that, I think that was entertaining and funny because like I used to see all these kids, but I was had that like that site when I mentioned I was in high school. I see all these kids do the craziest things that like, and they weren't really competing; they're just doing them, put it online, throw it on YouTube or whatever. And I was like, why isn't there a place for all these people to compete against each other to see who's the most ridiculous, who's craziest? So I made Make a Dare. And like there wasn't a lot of rhyme or reason when I made it at the time. I was just like, I feel like this should exist. And like that was like another premise. Like if I think something should exist, I'll just make it and see what happens. And thankfully we had a really great community of people. And the site went pretty viral. I was on Dr. Phil for that at the time. We were doing licensing for a lot of different TV shows like Tosh.0 and Jay Leno and a few others. So that was a really great experience. But yeah, I thought it was funny. I thought it was like different. I figured why not? I was 20 years old or 21, so I didn't think about what legal actually was at the time. I didn't think like the downside. Like I got everyone warned me, and I was like, whatever.
I'll make it.
That's future Troy's problem. Whatever.
That's funny. So something I was curious about, when those clips or like images from whatever website gets like lands on Tosh.0 or Dr. Phil, so do you have the rights technically to that content and then you get paid for that content when it's aired, or how does that work?
Yeah, you license the videos to them. Every station a different licensing agreement, but you get paid a one-time fee unless they want to renew the license for its duration of time, unless they want to renew. And whenever we got money, we just split the revenue with whoever the creator was. Like technically own the rights to it, but we always split the revenue with the creator on the website. So they're happy, they make some money. They didn't even expect to make money, so that was kind of always a surprise when they did. But it was cool for them to say like, look, I'm on TV.
Did you have that same sort of situation with like My Bad Parent?
So My Bad Parent was super, super random. So I was literally in my parents' house, and I was hanging out with my dad, and I saw all these websites posting slideshows of like funny parenting photos, and I noticed how many people were sharing them. And I was like, there's no Tumblr for this. And Tumblr was very popular at the time. So I decided, why don't I just make a Tumblr? And as I see stuff, I'll just start adding it in. I didn't really share with anyone. I just made it, and just all of a sudden, just naturally was growing day over day, just kept growing and growing. And then Howard Stern talked about it, and just shot up from there. It was in the Chicago Tribune. It was a bunch of different press. And then out of nowhere, I got a call from ICM, which is one of the largest literary agencies in the world. So they wanted to do a book, and like I honestly thought I was being pranked. I was like, this is like sure, whatever. And I didn't even believe it until I literally was holding the book for the first time. Like they're like, we have offers, people interested from like Simon and Schuster, Penguin, Random House, when they're different, separate time, Gotham. And I was like, oh, sure. I didn't believe it. And then even when I signed the contract with Penguin, I didn't really believe it until I physically held the book. I was like, oh, I guess this is happening. Because like you have to understand too, like I'm actually dyslexic. So like I had an English teacher when I was in high school who just reminded me that I wasn't the best writer. So when I actually held the book, like I was like, it was a surreal experience for me that like thinking like that I'm dyslexic, I wasn't the greatest writer, and I'm actually officially an author now, which is still wild to me to actually say out loud.
Well, congratulations on that, by the way. That's an accomplishment.
Thank you.
Amongst all
Thank
of them.
You.
But did like, just touching on school, what was your experience in like the education system? How'd you feel about it?
It was, I mean, I never really, it's weird. Like I always valued like education and schooling, but I never made it a priority when I was younger. Just because like the stuff I was learning, I didn't feel like, obviously every kid feels like it's not relevant, like learning algebra or whatever you're learning. But like even like when I got to college, like I knew like deep down that I was going to do something like internet related. So I knew like the biology side it's just interesting to me. Like to this day, like the sciences are always interesting. But I never thought it would help me like in the real world. So like my grades never were poor. Like I still always had decent grades. Like A minus, B plus, mostly A minus. So they were fine, but I just never really made a big focus on it. When I was in high school, like I didn't need to study. I just, as long as I paid attention in class, I knew it was good enough to pass the test. And then every night when I had home until like 1 a.m., I was up on my computer working on my websites.
Yeah. It seems like a pretty constant theme. I've had a few people from different walks of life on this podcast already, whether they were into video or I had one guy who he was 19 years old and he's like a broadcaster for the NBA, and he like runs all these social media accounts for the NBA. Buster, yes, man, yes.
It's his birthday today.
It is, yeah. Such a good dude.
I'm just talking to him.
No way.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Okay, you can see this big circle of connections. It's so funny. Yeah, like it's just like high performing people. I feel like if they know that they're passionate and driven, for some other area in their life, like the education system kind of lets them slip through the cracks, and it's not really like like you said, like the top priority when you know you're coming home and working on something like 2 times, 3 times as much as you would be doing your homework or whatever it may be. I just find it interesting.
Yeah, no, it is. And I mean, like obviously high school, like I don't recommend anyone to drop out of high school. I think the foundational like knowledge there like is very critical. Like those social skills and everything that you learn in high school is super important. And like the college side, I like is the part where it gets more contentious. People kind of are debate about, and I think it really depends. Like, college wasn't right for me. That doesn't mean it's not right for you. I think it's on a case by case basis and how you learn and how you develop. And I think if you want to go, if you think college is right for you, I think there's nothing wrong with that. I don't encourage anyone to drop out of college unless they have a path they want to go down and a plan. Personally, for me, I realized I learned a lot more dropping out and just making mistakes and Googling and learning than I ever would in a classroom. But everyone learns differently. And everyone has a different career path. So like I don't believe in like the one size fit all. Like everyone should drop out. No one needs college. Like, some people need college. Some people learn better in that environment. Some people, learn better by doing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a good piece of advice. And then just in terms of entrepreneurship, I don't know, like how you feel about the word entrepreneur. Some people love it, some people hate it. It's very commonly used term.
It's it usually for a while I used to think like entrepreneur is a fancy way of saying unemployed.
Yeah.
But I mean it can go either way. So I'm different to the term.
Cool. Well, just in terms of young people, whether they're entering college, in college, not even in college at all, and they want to pursue entrepreneurship in some fashion, what would be your advice to a young entrepreneur like looking to start a business or looking to get involved in business that way?
Good question. I mean, it really depends on. Like there's a lot of books you can read, thankfully, and a lot of research you can do online. Plenty. If you want to be an entrepreneur, I feel like you have to really make sure that you're a self-starter and it's a good fit for you. Like I feel like people glamorize it a lot. They don't talk about the stress and the ups and downs it really has. Like even we were talking earlier, like just like we were saying the stuff that I've done in terms of gold, like yeah, I've done a lot of great things, but I have a lot of things that also didn't go so well. But for me, like as long as you kind of learn from those failures and you just like kind of internalize them, really embrace them and make sure it doesn't happen again and learn from them, it's a great experience if you're able to do that. But if you're trying to just start off as an entrepreneur, don't be afraid to ask people for advice. Like that's basically how I started my career, is going out there and reaching out to people I never thought would reply to me. And it really did make a really big impact on the rest of my career. Don't be afraid to ask for advice, read as much as you can and get information. There's so much resources out there now. Like when I was younger, like when I was starting out, like there was, like as ridiculous as it sounds, there was no Shark Tank. And Shark Tank, I feel like stuff like that, like being out there actually helps a lot understanding like foundational information of like starting a business, valuations, like the thought process of like goes your head of like margin and everything, like sales and everything like that was not ingrained in me when I was younger. I just had to learn by doing. So there's a lot of resources out there and just be receptive to them. But yeah, I mean, find a side hustle or something that starts simple and expand from there, something that you enjoy doing that you can actually turn into a business. Start small. You don't have to make $1 billion company right away. You can make a company that you can do a side hustle that supports your lifestyle, that supports extra income, that eventually can become support your overall lifestyle. Then eventually you can leave your job, whatever you're doing, to do that full time. But yeah, I'd recommend absorbing all the information you can and starting small and building up from there. You don't need to be the next Apple. You can start at a smaller company, then eventually you can make your billions.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a great point. I think it's also a misconception that you have to, drop everything in order to pursue entrepreneurship. Like there's a lot of people that work 9 to 5 in order to help fund this side hustle, or this passion or whatever they're doing. Like they'll come home, instead of watching Netflix, instead of doing whatever, they will just grind.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. Like people I don't have time in the day. I'm like, really? Because you just told me you just binge watched the whole season of whatever. Like while you're binge watching, go on Craigslist, see what people are looking for, see what you can do. You can make money. You can make plenty of money passively while watching your Netflix shows. and that will fund whatever you want to do next.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So just in terms of like you and your experiences, I was wondering what, I know we talked a little bit about it before with, finding the pressure points in the market, but I'm just curious as to what like really motivates you, because you've been in very different fields, very different industries and roles. But it sounds like you're enjoying it for most of the time. So I'm just wondering what motivates you and what gets you excited when you're in all those different experiences.
I don't know. It's like, I personally just love building things, and I love just seeing what happens. I love seeing how people react to them. And that's why like marketing is so interesting to me, because like, and it's crazy. Like, I mean, no other time in history can you put something together by yourself at your whatever, your laptop or your phone, and have millions of people see it like very, very easily. Which is just a crazy concept to me, and that still like resonates from when I was a kid, and that's still ingrained with me now. And like, that motivates me that I can problem solve at such a large scale that people could see my work that I'm doing like across the globe instantly. That's still, I think, is such a cool thing to me, and that I personally enjoy all the problem solving and the scale that becomes.
Yeah. And I think that's like, it's a great segue into your experiences with Juice. You are, building up these, or helping build up these brands for some of the largest brands in the world, through growth marketing. And growth marketing is kind of, I don't know if that's like the proper term, but you're helping these companies grow through marketing. So just in terms of like the services for Juice, like I know that you have like Facebook and Instagram ads, Google AdWords, TikTok marketing, which is a big question mark. I'm not sure. I want to get your piece on that. Google SEO and influencer marketing and things like that. But how did you decide to put together like these 6 services when putting together Juice? I'm just wondering how you guys came to those conclusions.
Yeah, so I mean, it started with Facebook and Google advertising, because most of our clients, at first at least, were in the e-commerce space. So it started like, if you're building an e-commerce brand, like Facebook and Google, your bread and your butter, basically. Mostly it's like Facebook and then leads into Google. So we did that, and then as the client needs grew, we just expanded out and got industry experts in every field. So we did that. We also launched we had a lot of requests for development work, so we launched a separate agency under Juice called Peachy. So now we have a 25-person development team as well. So we do website development design too. So we really expanded as the needs were coming in. Like TikTok, for example, is one as soon as TikTok had their beta program, we were the first agency to be part of it, because you recognize, it's a massive growing platform. So we want to make sure we bring the industry experts on advertising on there, because there's a lot of D2C brands on there, a lot of apps that we work with as well that go on there. And as you said, it's a kind of a question mark. I don't think it's going anywhere, but who knows? But it's been a great marketing channel. But yeah, we really cater the needs, we cater the services we have to the needs of our clients, and we think would serve them best.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you don't think it's going anywhere though. It's here to stay for now.
No, I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's probably it looks like it's going to have to sell to someone. I was hoping Apple would buy it, but I thought it made sense in my head. They were at privacy. They had Apple Music, they had the iPhone. Oh well, I'm not Tim Cook.
No, not yet. So in terms of some of your investments, I know you talked about it a bit before, but I was just curious about your investment in the music industry, because you had it's Studio Red, I believe. Stadium Red. So I was just curious as to how you kind of stumbled upon that and like what that has meant for like your investment there.
Yeah, no, I mean that was a fun one. A friend of mine, Claude Zadnow, started it. He was my best friend growing up, and I'm from Long Island, and all the local bands in Long Island used to go to his basement, actually his parents' house, to record. So he decided, after doing all these bands, he's had the opportunity to acquire a small studio in Harlem, 125th. So he was fundraising. I invested in his company, helped advise on him from the marketing side for growing to get artists in the door to be recording. And yeah, the studio really expanded, took up almost, I think it was the entire floor by the end of the studio. Eventually the studio sold, but we took up the entire floor from like a smaller area to keep expanding. Had really great talent, like the producer, like Just Blaze was our in-house producer. We worked with really cool artists ranging from like Kendrick Lamar, Eminem, Beyonce, Chainsmokers, you name it. Won a bunch of Grammys. It was a really cool experience.
Did you go to the Grammys? Follow-up question.
I didn't. I went to the viewing parties, but I didn't go to the Grammys. That I wish I did. I went to the viewing party. I remember I was very salty because we did Kendrick Lamar's first album, Good Kid, Mad City, and we were up for a Grammy, but we lost to Best New Artist of the Year to Macklemore.
Oh, man.
I'll never forget that. Macklemore beat Kendrick for Best New Artist, and I'll never forget that.
He also beat Macklemore also beat Kendrick for Rap Album of the Year. I don't know if it was the next year or that year, but
I think it was the same. It might have been the same year. I don't remember, but that blew my mind.
That heartbreaking. Yeah. It makes and there was also some crazy like that. The year that Macklemore beat Kendrick Lamar, he also beat out Drake for Nothing Was the Same, and I think there was a Jay-Z album. Like it was an outrageous.
Yeah, I mean, he even made a public apology, try to do his thing. But, I mean, I don't blame him. But yeah, I think it's kind of a ridiculous concept. But we did win other Grammys, but not that one.
Yeah, fair enough. That's that's very cool though. That's just so interesting to me that was just kind of like an opportunity for you to invest in, and also like it flourished into a really successful recording studio.
Yeah, no, that was really cool. I mean, I played guitar and bass growing up, so I always loved the music space. Never thought I'd be anywhere near Grammy, let alone a part of an organization that actually won one. So yeah. It was definitely a really cool experience.
What music do you listen to?
Man, I listen to everything from rap to alternative to classic rock to whatever.
Country music?
Not actively. I have nothing against country. Like if country's on, I won't turn it off, but I won't proactively turn on country.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
I have nothing against country though. I've been to many country concerts.
Okay, cool. Fair enough. So
I didn't buy the tickets, but I was invited.
Okay, yeah. See, in that case, yeah, you're not gonna go hunting for it, but no. So something I was pretty interested in, and I know I keep like relating the questions to like your scope of experiences, but I just think it's super interesting that you've done all of these different things. I'm wondering like what is one of your common hurdles that you face when releasing a product for the first time? And what have those situations taught you about going into a new setting and releasing product or service?
Yeah, I mean, so it's a problem that everyone has when launching something new. It's called product market fit. And you have to make sure that there is product market fit. And that's like the biggest issue everyone has. Like you can have that, like you think you have the best idea in the world, which I was trying to like touch on a little earlier, is like, I think I have an idea, like thankfully like Maggie, if it hit a nerve and it worked, but like the fuse case, the phone case hit a nerve and it worked. But if you launch a product and the total market size is under 1,000 people, unless it's a very expensive product, you're probably not going to have a business. So actually discovering product market fit is probably the biggest issue like businesses have. So the amount of research you do before launching a company and testing you do before actually committing to, if it's a product, like you have to do tangibles and like tooling, all this crazy expensive like inventory, like buying inventory, packaging, and everything. De-risking as much as you can up front to make sure that there's actually a market out there and there's actually interest before you commit to actually this full build out. Even if it's an app, all the development and design that goes into that, like test the interest first, see how much demand there is in the market. Like I was saying earlier, see people are talking on Twitter, check Google Trends. At the very least, just ask your friends. Like I can tell you, like I have a group of friends that I bug all the time. I have ideas every day, and I just hit them up all the time with different ideas I have. Most of the time, they're like, "Troy, that's ridiculous." Sometimes, every now and then, like, "That's a great idea," and I just go down the rabbit hole and see how far I can take it.
It's very cool. So, at what point in your career did you kind of learn how to dive into like that market research? Because at first, when you were releasing these websites, it was kind of off something that you're interested in or you thought was funny or you wanted to go viral. But at what point were you kind of faced with a product or service and you say, okay, I really need to make sure of this one? Like what was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it came out actually like that came about like when I did Fuse Case, because I saw the nerve it really hit. And I was seeing it, and we were like, my partner Diego at the time, we were seeing the sentiment like on Twitter and stuff, and realized like there's a lot of stuff you can grab like looking at like by social listening and see what we're talking about. And like that's how like me and my friend Pim, we launched really random. We launched a Pokemon Go dating app. And like when Pokemon Go was a thing, like we saw people go like anecdotally like going around and seeing people going out and collecting Pokemon. We saw people talking about it online, going out and like where they're gonna go. So like from that, like we made like a dating app called Pokematch. We had over 300,000 active users on it. Yeah, so like at that point I really understood social listening. And then I tapped into like my SEO research at the time, like, and I realized like I can check search volumes to actually see like how many people are actually searching for it. And then when I started doing my like dropshipping stores and stuff, like that's when I started realizing the potential of vaporware, which is like you make not a fake website, but you make a product that doesn't really exist, and you see people actually show interest in it before actually going forward and producing the product.
That's super interesting. Damn. I also did not know about Pokematch. That's awesome and hilarious.
Yeah, that was a fun one. We got literally press everywhere and a ton of users. It was very random.
I was gonna ask if you took Buster's advice and have bought any Pokemon cards or any sports cards.
It's funny. So Buster actually he randomly sent me a stack of, he knows I'm a big basketball fan, sent me a stack of basketball cards. So he got me to start collecting. So I told him I'm going to start going out with him and looking for cards. So I'm definitely interested. The Pokemon side, I probably still have my cards in my parents' house somewhere. But when I was a kid, like the Pokemon cards, like I was actually kind of hustling them a bit. My cousin owned a collectible store and he was selling cards. So I just asked him, like, give me like, a box of booster packs and I'll just, it was like, I don't remember the cost, but it was like $3 a pack. I'm like, I'll just go to my school and sell them $10 a pack and I'll split the profit with you. So I used to just go to my school selling booster packs for the cards. So I didn't really collect Pokemon cards that much. But yeah, I'm definitely going to start the basketball up a bit. Buster's pushing me.
Yeah, man. No, it's super cool. And we talked a lot about that when he was on with me. And I bought a few, but it's crazy how much that market is growing. Like it's very cool to see, because when I was a kid, I would just collect hockey cards, and now I'm looking back and seeing some that are worth even just like whatever, $20 for a card. I'm like, holy smokes, more than like nothing for a piece of plastic. But Buster's getting hyped about it.
I actually have a lot of hockey cards. I actually have a lot of hockey cards in my house somewhere, my parents' house.
It's funny. It could be worth something. You never know.
Never know. Might as well check.
Yeah, man. 100%. But yeah, I would definitely take Buster's advice for all things cards. He definitely knows what he's doing over there.
Cards Nation.
Yes, sir. Cool. So I've got a little bit of a lightning round. If you're up for it, just random questions, and then whatever comes into your head or pops into your head, just fire it off. Cool. What is Troy's biggest fear?
Stagnation.
Nice. I already asked you this question, but what do you find funny?
A lot of things. I have those random sense of humor. Like I said, like everything from dad jokes to like Rick and Morty or whatever you can think of.
Cool. Largest life lesson.
Life lesson? That's a tough one. I think the life lesson is what I was touching on earlier, is that to really embrace failure and embrace things that go wrong and learn from them, and really, like a lot of people, and I was guilty of this, and I think most people are when they are just guilty of this. And I did this when I was younger, is that when you mess up, you feel bad and you just try to brush past and move on. But if you really, like, while you're feeling bad, remember that feeling. So you never want to remind yourself that you never want to be in that position again. But also you can really, if you really internalize it and embrace it, you can really learn from it and understand exactly how you got to that point.
It's great advice. It's cool. What would be one of the greatest misconceptions about marketing?
One of the greatest misconceptions is that if you just get things in front of people that they'll buy, like, or at least get ads in front of them, that people don't really take into consideration that people aren't sold in an advertisement. They're sold throughout the entire process, through the brand, through the messaging, through the imagery, through the reviews. All these little details add up into a sale and really add up into it, retaining and getting a customer. It's not just about getting in front of them, just getting your name in front of them. It's actually, there's a long process of that sell, that there's all these nuances in every step of the way.
I love that. And you can definitely see the contrast when like a product is being shoved in your face and you feel like, okay, this is enough, versus when they bring you kind of through the story and like they build a relationship, build rapport.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. Could you describe yourself in 3 words?
How to describe myself? I don't like talking about myself. Random, probably my friend would say. Creative, I guess. I don't know. That's a tough one.
No, it's fair. That's good though. And
I'll
then
stick with those 2, random and creative.
yeah, it's good. I think that sums it up. And then I saw on Instagram you have a dog that you love. Is it a golden doodle?
She is. Her name's Molly.
Molly. How old is Molly?
She's 8.
Super cute dog. I've recently been really into dogs because I just got one, or my mom just got one, like I don't even know, a few months ago, and now I'm obsessed, man. I don't know.
They're great. I recommend them for everyone.
Yes, man's best friend.
Exactly.
It's cool.
She kept me sane during quarantine.
Yeah, man, no kidding. Jeez, how have you been feeling about quarantine? Like, have you gone through it?
I'm fine. I mean, in New York, I'm in New York, so it was locked down pretty quick for a while here. I didn't really mind that much. I mean, I just hunkered down and got work done. Did a lot of reading. I mean, I'm a homebody all the time, so I don't mind anyway.
Yeah, honestly, it was a good time to just kind of reflect, relax, do some reading, do some things that you haven't really got the chance to do. So in that case, I guess it's definitely a plus. But the podcast has come out of quarantine, so that's a big one.
It had the silver lining.
Exactly. Cool, man. This has been an awesome conversation. I've really enjoyed just kind of hearing about, your 2 cents on marketing, your 2 cents on, all of your different experiences, what you've learned, what you've taken away. I want to say once again, Troy, thank you so much for hopping on here, man. Really cool to have met you and to have had this conversation. If there's anything,
Likewise.
Thank you. I was gonna ask if there's anything else that you want to leave the audience with. Most of the listeners are like between 18 and 22. So if you could give one piece of advice to 20-year-old Troy, what would it be?
Dang, no pressure. No, I mean, honestly, my advice is that if you want to get into like kind of touching again what we talked about earlier, is you want to get into the entrepreneurial world and see this, like, one, recognize that it's a lot more work than you'll make it out to be. It is a roller coaster of emotion. But 2, it's more accessible and possible than ever. If you really want to do it, you can. There's all the information in the world out there. Just listen to podcasts like this, find books to read, look to mentors. Don't be scared to ask for advice, and more importantly, don't be scared to fail.
I love that. Don't be scared to fail. Once again, Troy, thanks so much for coming on here, and thanks again.